Today on the Topic Show, a judge releases a Tesla firebomber due to a lack of gender-affirming care. Iowa passes a bill to protect tracks from Karens. Ford Mustang beats its own record by over 5 seconds at a track. The Wall Street Journal is roasted for posting a false article about the Tesla board of directors trying to replace Elon Musk. And Ninja is recalling their pressure cooker. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guys, he's quite handsome and brilliant. Ease me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the Ford Mustang breaking its own record at the iconic Nürburgring lap. Now, this is brought to us thanks to thedrive.com. Specifically, Andrew Collins is a writer over there, and they say, quote, Ford Mustang GTD breaks its own record at the Nürburgring by over 5.5 seconds. A lot of sports cars are described as, quote, race car for the street road, but the 202 mile per hour Ford Mustang GTD can actually own that description. Which, it does look pretty cool. It's got about probably 15 pounds of aero glued on there. I'm kidding. I'm sure they use very high quality 3M adhesive tape, but I partially digress. Now, they say, quote, the Ford Mustang GTD entered raffled air at the Nürburgring well, definitely can't pronounce the second word right, Nordenschief last August when pro driver Dirk Muller laid down a sub-7 minute lap, 6:57.68 to be exact, with one of these cars. Apparently unsatisfied with that, Ford and engineering partner Multimatic have continued tinkering with the car to set a new record, a blistering 6:52.072, with Miller again at the wheel. Ford bolded the adjustments made to the car since its 6:57 run in a blog post. They did a revised chassis tuning and increased torsion rigidity, updated suspension hardware and alignment for more precise, predictable handling, aerodynamic tweaks for improved downforce, powertrain calibration updates, revised ABS and traction control behavior, a new active spool valve development. And here you can see it on the iconic track, which does look pretty cool. He says, I guess there's also the factor of the test pilot now having more experience with the vehicle too. They say too tough to quantify, but surely that's worth something. When Ford initially brought the GTT to the green hell last October, reports suggest that weather at the track was less than ideal for the blistering run. Conditions may have been more favorable this time around, which certainly helps. For context, this new 6:57.72 time makes the Ford Mustang GTT slightly faster than the Mercedes AMG GT Black Series, and a smidge slower than the Lamborghini Huracan Performante. The king of the ring among production cars is still the Mercedes AMG 1, since Marshall Engel laid down a 6:52.09 last September. But is that really a production car? Technically, I've never certainly seen one, which, yeah, I mean, people see the Mercedes AMG GT. You see that, and actually makes me smile when I actually see one at the track, where, they're made to be used, not just as a pavement queen. But yeah, and actually the AMG, Mercedes AMG 1, even at car shows, I don't see that. Now they say, quote, the Ford Mustang GTD is supposed to enter production in relative terms that are supposedly being limited to 1,000 of these units in spring. The vehicle's pitched as, quote, street legal barely, running a suspension system of Byzantine complexity, race car aero, nearly 50-50 front-rear balanced chassis, and of course a 5.2 liter supercharged V8 claiming a max output horsepower of 815. That's a lot of ponies. The list price is, oh geez Louise, darn it, my hopes and dreams. If only if they were to move the decimal place a couple times, then maybe. The list price is $323,000, which after the dealer markup, I'm sure it'll probably be $400,000 because they have to, that's what they do. They say surely every example of the first batch is spoken for, so if you're keen to claim one, start thinking of ways to bribe a friend at Ford. Yeah, or just look at bring a trailer. I guarantee half of these being sold are going to be given to flippers who want to make more money. They say the Blue Oval sent out a little sizzle reel about the new record below, but you can get a better sense of the whole RTD experience with a ride-along clip from 657. which, let's see this little highlight. This might be the only good Ford commercial in a couple decades. Starts with a quote from Jim Farley, who's their current CEO and a pretty good big gearhead. I appreciate the fact that Jim Farley said he doesn't care he doesn't care what GM is doing. He doesn't care what Dodge or Stellantis is doing. Ford will always make an affordable V8 sports car. So I do love that about Jim Farley. That's what he does. He does some things right. So what Jim Farley says in the quote that appears on the screen says, quote, "We took what we learned from a decade of on the track and engineered a Mustang for customers that could compete with the world's best supercars," unquote.
We know there's more in the car. We know we can do better.
You can't hide from a bad lap time at the Nürburgring.
And we're back. Small changes make big differences here.
I was gonna say, this is one of the few times we actually want to see the Ford on the screen. So it shows their time beating out a Porsche 991 GT3, as well as with this and a couple other competitors. Dare I say the only thing made by Ford worth owning? That is an exceptional commercial. Also, I just remembered, oh yeah, Ford had 40 recalls in 2025 thus far, which is a record. Even having 5 recalls in one day. But, you know, another topic for another time perhaps. This is a marvel of engineering. And again, I actually do wonder, at $325,000, are they making a profit on that? Or is that a loss leader just to have a Halo car, debatably a near Halo car? I mean, this is astronomical. And unlike the Ford GT, I think these will actually be used. I'm kind of sad to think not even 1% will probably make the trip over to the ring, which, again, is a pretty penny to actually pay to have your car go over there and drive it. Like, granted, if you can afford, 6 figures on a car, probably could also afford to do that. But yeah, that's really cool. Now, granted, you know me, I wish I had a stick shift. Of course, this is made for, the best lap time in the world, so they want it to be automatic because inherently the computer's faster than a human, but I don't know. To me, that it would be cool to have that option, though I understand why they don't. But yeah, probably one of the coolest Mustangs I've seen in several years. And yeah, who knows? Maybe these will actually be, maybe we'll see them in Cars and Coffee soon. But again, very admirable for Ford to do that. It's pretty darn cool. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Part podcast, you have the Wall Street Journal posting a false article about the Tesla board of directors trying to unseat Elon Musk. And of course, yeah, it was all made up. Now, scrolling down to the good old X, this is posted thanks to Lives at TikTok, and she says, quote, "You don't hate the media enough." And here the Wall Street Journal claimed, quote, "Tesla board opened search for a new CEO to succeed Elon Musk. With profits and stock price sinking, board members told Elon he needs to spend more time in the company," unquote. And yeah, Tesla literally tweeted, this is according to this is tweeted from the Tesla profile on X, from Robin Denholm, saying, quote, "Earlier today, there was a media report erroneously claiming that the Tesla board had contacted recruitment firms to initiate a CEO search for the company. This is absolutely false, and this is communicated to the media before the report was published. The CEO of Tesla is Elon Musk, and the board is highly confident in his ability to continue executing on the exciting growth plan ahead," unquote. Which, yeah, we don't hate the mainstream media enough. I can't help but wonder, are they more corrupt or stupid? I'd venture to say more corrupt than stupid. And this didn't go as far as I thought it should. Got about 174,000 views and 4.1 thousand likes. Planet of Memes finally with a meme. It's been a couple of weeks. I was going to say, it's been a little disappointing, but they finally back to the memes. Well, Planet of Memes says Wall Street Journal and says, "You suck at journalism," getting 90 likes. Although, I'm not sure if that's really a meme or just, the Wall Street Journal with text below it. So maybe it's a half win by the Planet of Memes. Anti-Woke Memes also says, "We're going to Mars," and Wall Street Journal are not invited. And someone has an AI generated picture from Grok and it says, "No Tesla protesters allowed on Mars." Mars, getting 27 likes. Paul Zupa says the Wall Street Journal needs to be sued for this, getting 27 likes. They should. Mr. Pitbull says, quote, the media said Tesla would fail. Today it's worth about 1.4 trillion. The media said SpaceX would fail. Today it dominates the space industry. The media said X would fail. Today it's the number one source for news. They never stop lying, and they're always wrong, getting 64 likes, which, again, basically everyone said Tesla would fail in the beginning, because, again, it was one of the most ambitious ideas in probably 100 years of automotive history. And, again, it is the only successful automotive company in the U.S. since Chrysler. Yeah, let that, I was going to say, I should have a nail for dramatic effect. See if you can hear the drop of the nail on this microphone, though I suspect you can't for dramatic effect. But yeah, it's that rare. I mean, everyone said they would fail. I mean, that's why Elon is worth so much money, because he literally achieved the unachievable. He did the impossible. He made a profitable electric vehicle, and also mass-produced it. I mean, those are huge feats of engineering, working like hell. So, but again, most people thought Tesla would fail. I mean, hindsight's 2020. How many of us wish we could have invested when they IPO'd at $17 per share? And they went up like 200,000% or something crazy like that, through the lifetime of their stock, though not financial advice. Steve also says, because Tesla was caught and had to literally lie their way out of it, unquote, gave 1 like. I don't think so. Scrolling down more and more. Let's see. Battleborn says, why even call it the news media? Is pure deep state propaganda, getting 9 likes. Yeah. The Undercurrent says, quote, while they didn't even break a story, they manufactured a market dip. At this point, Wall Street Journal business model is just fiction with financial consequences. Getting 25 likes. A lot of people pointing out how Tesla stock went up, which, again, stocks also go up and down every second of the day. So, I mean, I don't think that's saying, oh yeah, they're back. Because again, their sales did drop. A lot of automotive sales are, especially with the interest rates and that unprecedented economic uncertainty. But yeah, Sputnik says, no, they truly do not. Were they trying to mess with the stock, getting 4 likes? Dr. Mike Libby says, this feels like an attempt to market manipulation by me. Look at the short position of Tesla on these people and start making arrests, getting 8 likes. Maybe. X Alert says, time to sue them, getting 102 likes. We do have a contrarian statement. Carano PhD says, I know it's BS, but maybe he should. Doesn't have to be the CEO, but could be like the second in command. Elon is still the head chief. Elon could still be the head chief, but a souls. So, maybe it's not culture. I think that means sous chef. I don't need that much unless I'm with a client. Is also needed, is what he says. And there's a screenshot from, by the text. By the format of this screenshot, it looks like it's from Fox News. And it's noted that Tesla earnings and sales are down dramatically. Looks like revenue's down 9%. Expected revenues relatively only 21.3 billion, and the net income is down 409 million, or 71%. That did get 3 likes. But again, historically speaking, Elon's always brought things back, so to say. And the real question is, how many of those people who previously supported the company will come back to Elon? How many of them are just making noise on social media? And again, there is more competition now. Tesla isn't a monopoly in terms of the only option for EVs. There's also a record number of options. So let me know, do you think Tesla's stock, and do you think their sales will bounce back Q2, Q3? You also have 7% interest rates. That's not helping anyone in the auto industry, but let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have a judge releasing the Tesla firebomber due to, in part, of a lack of gender-affirming care. Which, talk about an easy way to get out of jail. Jeez Louise. Now, this brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And he says, quote, breaking, a judge releases a suspected Tesla firebomber citing ADHD and no access to, quote, gender-affirming care. Which, imagine, I got let out because of ADHD. Which is something I can't help but think they just diagnose everyone with, especially kids who aren't interested in boring schools, but that's just me. Let's see what the reporter at Fox 4 says.
Bria and John, the government wanted Owen McIntyre to spend the time before trial behind bars, but the judge in Boston sided with the defense in this case which cited multiple medical issues facing the 19-year-old, including autism spectrum disorder, gender dysphoria, and ADHD. McIntyre's attorney argued the teen should be released citing serious and ongoing medical needs and treatments that could not or would not be provided while in federal detention. The defense filing says McIntyre is being treated for depression and since March has been receiving gender-affirming care. That care would likely be interrupted or terminated in federal custody. Bria and John, the government.
Yeah, you don't hate these federal judges, or rather these activist judges, enough. This went pretty viral. Got 2 million views and 16,000 likes. And yeah, imagine another criminal out on bail or just let out. You see this trend more and more this year. It seems like every time someone does something bad, if they're left, oh yeah, they get the activist judges let them out. Let's take the, and then, oh, there's $1 million bail. Let's, they stab someone to death. Let's take that $1 million bail, take it down. Let's 80% off. Ridiculous. One of the first comments is from End Wokeness saying, quote, "Judge who freed him is Jessica Hedges," which, yeah, I am actually surprised. It's well, not surprised by the fact that it's a liberal white gal, but I am surprised her, well, typical short leftist hair. She does not have purple or blue hair. Now that is interesting, and no cowering, which I can't help but notice also accounts for 50% of dating profiles these days, but I partially digress. That did get 4.7 thousand likes. I also have Gunther Eagleman says, quote, "Our justice system is broken," gave 1.4 thousand likes. It is. Paul Zupa says, "The trans terrorist deserves to be in prison." In ECOC, gave 149 likes. Mr. Pitbull, though I don't think it's the singer, says, quote, "If he's being released due to mental illness, then he should have been held in secure psychiatric facility. This is exactly what institutions used to be used for," getting 1,000 likes. Mr. Pitbull also says Elon is right. And Elon has a quote in which he says, "If any judge anywhere can block every presidential order everywhere, we do not have democracy, we have a tyranny of the judiciary," getting 143 likes. Hunter Eagleman says this is unbelievable, getting 498 likes. 499, 501 going up like a stock. Well, stock a couple years ago. Based Electrician has a screenshot of him, and he says, quote, "So this domestic terrorist doesn't have to go to prison because he has depression and thinks he's a woman. Since when is being sad and crazy an excuse to get out of jail?" Gave 950 likes, which, yeah, talk about an easy way to get out of jail. Same as these activist judges when you have a man in prison saying, "Oh, I identify as a woman," and they put a biological man in a female prison in which they proceed to abuse them in the worst possible way. And yet Democrats say, "Oh, yeah, that's good." Mentally vacuous as well as morally vacuous and disgusting. You also have Spitfire says, "I just don't have any words anymore. Absolute judicial anarchy." Game 474 likes. Crazy Vibe says, "Impeach all corrupt judges." And he has a quote from JD Vance in which he says, quote, "Judges are not allowed to control the executive's legitimate power," getting 149 likes. Matt Van Swole says, "What a crock of shit. This man firebombed a Tesla dealership," getting 401 likes, which, yeah, that's domestic terrorism. Yeah, no, it's felt sad. Let him out. David Santa Clara says, "Stop appointing women judges," getting 578 likes. Kel Zhang, I think that's how I pronounce it, says, quote, "Yeah, I guess having gender dysphoria and ADHD means you've got to be firebombing a Tesla. Hey, Pam Bondi, I know you're only doing your job, but could you look at this judge?" Thanks. Getting 666 likes. Well, 5. I made it 666. But yeah, all these judges are making me sick. Helen Hunting says, quote, "So, well, wrong grammatically, but she says, so she is free to commit more crimes." Ridiculous. Getting 63 likes. This person also got a lot of people responding. I suspect they say, is a good dude. Conservative Alternative says, "This reads like a comedic script. I almost can't tell if it's real or not," getting 26 likes, which, yeah. You also have Judge Lutz says, "How is this judge going to ensure public safety? According to this person, firebombed a public establishment," getting 143 likes. Yeah. I don't think they care about public safety. I mean, if you look at the actions of a lot of these all these judges, I don't think they give a damn about public safety. I don't like the city of Chicago, which I'm told is going to be great next year, like the Chicago Bears, which political and sports pun, it will not be. It will, in fact, just lose more good companies and more good people as they leave the state for pretty much anywhere is better than that. So, again, I mean, I'm not surprised. They're being let out of prison left and right. And it will be interesting in terms of, again, being a federal crime. Does, Pam Bondi, does a federal, do they step in, try to resolve this? And what do you think? Should this individual be out just because of they have ADHD and gender dysphoria? But let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Iowa passing a bill to protect tracks from Karens, thankfully. This is brought to us thanks to Mr. Caleb Jacobs at thedrive.com. And they say, quote, Iowa passes bill protecting racetracks from cranky Karens. Thank God. In a major win for small racing venues across the state, Iowa lawmakers agreed to protect them from new neighbors looking to take legal action over nuisance complaints. Yes! Those lazy Karens. Like, it saddens my heart that there are even lazy, disgusting Karens in Iowa. One of the greatest states, I would say. Though, obviously, I'm biased. I lived there and went to school there. And here you can see, there we go. One of those NASCARs doing some burnouts, which that's actually at the, I was about to say Texas Motor Speedway just by default when I think Speedway, Texas, I think. But it's actually from the Iowa Speedway. And they say, quote, it's become a familiar story. New moronic neighbors, well, I did that part, move in next door to a racetrack, complain about the noise, and the facility has to fight for its life. We reported on similar stories in California, in Colorado, and other states, but we never thought we'd have to worry about Iowa. And we never will have to, thanks to House Bill 645, which takes effect July 1st, 2025. A new legislation protects motorsport venues from legal action over noise and nuisance claims, so long as they were established before the neighbor was either built or purchased nearby property. Essentially, if a track was there first, the person next door can't sue them into oblivion because they're too loud or dusty. Finally! It is disgusting that we have to worry about this and had to become a law, but thank God it did. And it's one of those things where racetracks are so much fun, and there's such a big gamble in terms of the high upfront cost, high maintenance cost. It's a big investment, and a lot of times they actually lose money on it, but you usually have to drive an hour to get there. I'm talking about, on averages, at least DFW. Historically, you have to drive out in the middle of nowhere to get to the track, because again, for safety reasons, as well as, there are many reasons it makes sense to be away from the cities. Then all of a sudden, cities get more and more, they grow more and more. Then you have all these pop-up cities. And before you know it, they're building houses right next to the damn track, which used to be in the middle of nowhere. And then all the Karens go, oh, I built a house by a track. Now I'm upset it's loud, which is the dumbest thing on the planet. And also very selfish. You invaded a neighborhood and that you knew was loud. You knew there was a track right there. And then you complain, why is it so noisy? Mentally vacuous and annoying. Now, they say, quote, Iowa State Senate and House of Representatives passed HB 645 unanimously. There we go. Even the lefties said yes, which I was shocked. When was the last time you heard of a political thing that was passed unanimously? A decade? It's been a long time. They say several government officials spoke after casting their votes in favor of it, with Senator Chairlin Westrich explaining, quote, some Iowa racetracks are facing a problem where housing developments are being built around them, and they currently could be subject to nuisance complaints for sound, light, and so forth. Even though the track was built first and they're in compliance with standard operating procedures for the industry, it's now waiting to be signed by Governor Kim Reynolds. The bill is surprisingly supported by Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, better known as SEMA. I would say it's unsurprisingly supported by them. It makes more sense. As well as the Performance Racing Industry Group. You also have Performance Racing Industry Group saying, quote, Iowa's racetracks are more than just entertainment venues. They're economic engines that support local businesses, create jobs, and generate substantial revenue for the state. This immunity is essential for ongoing operation and advancement of these venues. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I can't mention the stress of owning a track when, again, you have like a ticking time bomb where, again, this could happen. And I would say half the times we read about tracks these days, it's about them being shut down, either because they're being coerced by these Karens, or sometimes you also have less interest in the hobby. So it's glad to see some of these tracks being protected. Now they say, quote, Iowa Speedway and Newton host national competitions such as NASCAR's Cup and Xfinity Series, as well as IndyCar. Thus far from the state's only track, there are plenty more short ovals, dirt, and paved where racers are running on any given weekend. But of course, HB 645 is even more crucial for those smaller venues where fans support grassroots motorsports and local businesses. True. Those local nice amount of tracks also don't get a lot of national attention. So yeah, I would argue it's even more important that they have this type of security and this type of protection. Now, they also note, quote, it's worth noting that this legislation provides immunity for racetracks no matter which property owner was there first, which is nice. There's no BS, little caveat or loophole saying, oh yeah, as soon as this owner dies, the protection's gone, which, because with different type of laws and different subject matters, we have seen similar instances in which that is the case. Now they say, quote, so long as the track existed before the neighborhood moved in, what I'm getting at is if a track enters into new ownership and the same neighbor has been waiting to file legal action for 20 years, said neighbor can't do anything so long as the racing facility was there before they were there. In that sense, it seems like HB 645 provides comprehensive protection for these venues. And he says, I'll be keeping an eye out for this legislation like this in other states as motorsport fans continue voicing their support for tracks for both big and small across the state, which, yeah, Texas needs to get out of this ASAP. Every 2 days, another business moves to Texas, another town pops up, which is good for business, not great for housing prices. But yeah, definitely need this protection nationwide. So very, very rare to have some good news around racing. Again, with the unanimous voting being casted, I can't but think it's a sure thing the governor would sign off on it. I'm thinking there's a high propensity that will happen. But let me know, are you excited by this news? Do you think this will spread to other states around the U.S.? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have the SharkNinja recalling over 1 million of their pressure cookers, which is not great. This is brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Protection Commission, perhaps the only useful government website we have, which, well, granted, that's a pretty low bar, but it's saying something, in which they say, quote, SharkNinja recalls 1.8 million foodie multi-function pressure cookers due to burn hazard. Serious burn injuries have been reported. Here you can see the Ninja pressure cooker, which is called the SharkNinja, also known as the Ninja Foodie, which is it's a pretty self-grandeur name, self-grandizing name. Sounds weird. I can't help but think only stuck-up people call themselves foodies, but I partially digress. Now, they say, quote, this recall involves all Ninja Foodie OP300 series multifunction pressure cookers. The cookers have functions that include pressuring and air frying. They're sold in black and have a 6.5 quart capacity. Ninja is printed on the front and the product label. Now, unfortunately, there's been some incidents, and they note in terms of the issue, they say, quote, the pressure cooking lid can be opened during use, causing hot contents to spill, posing a risk of burn and other hazards to consumers. Whoops. Again, specifically, actually, recall is 1,846,400 units, as well as 184,240 that were sold in Canada. They say consumers should immediately stop using the products recalled or pressure cooking function and contact SharkNinja for a free replacement lid. Consumers can continue to use the product's air frying and other functions. They have received, geez Louise, 106 reports of burn injuries, including more than 50 reports of second or third degree burns on the face or body, with 23 lawsuits filed thus far. Which, yeah, in this case, they did not get ahead of this recall. These are sold at Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Amazon, and Target stores nationwide, as well as ninjakitchen.com and all those, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Amazon.com, and Target from January 2019 to March 2025 for about $200. Jeez Louise. And of course, they're manufactured in China with the recall number 25-247. Now, again, you should just reach out to Ninja for a free replacement lid. And I can't imagine, just to cost to ship out all these lids and also now lawsuits. And Ninja already has that name in terms of, it's a very convenient brand in terms of it's usually a lower price unit. It's a, entry-level product to get into most cooking categories. But a lot of people make fun of them because they'll say they're more cheaply made, more reliability issues, and kind of insult to injury, kind of proving the point here with over 1 million of these units being recalled. And again, the fact that they were not ahead of the recall and people have already been seriously injured from it. I gotta say, a Ninja in your pressure cooker, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. And lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.